Thousands of years ago, the first man discovered how to make fire. He was probably burned at the stake he had taught his brothers to light, but he left them a gift they had not conceived, and he lifted darkness off the earth. Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors, stood alone against the men of their time. Every new thought was opposed, every new invention was denounced. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won. No creator was prompted by a desire to please his brothers. His brothers hated the gift he offered. His truth was his only motive. His work was his only goal. His work, not those who used it. His creation, not the benefits others derived from it. The creation which gave form to his truth. He held his truth above all things and against all men. He went ahead, whether others agreed with him or not, with his integrity as his only banner. He served nothing and no one. He lived for himself. And only by living for himself was he able to achieve the things which are the glory of mankind. Such is the nature of achievement. Man cannot survive except through his mind. He comes on earth unarmed. His brain is his only weapon. But the mind is an attribute of the individual. There is no such thing as a collective brain. The man who thinks must think and act on his own. The reasoning mind cannot work under any form of compulsion. It cannot be subordinated to the needs, opinions, or wishes of others. It is not an object of sacrifice. The Creator stands on his own judgment. The parasite follows the opinions of others. The Creator thinks. The parasite copies. The Creator produces. The parasite loots. The Creator's concern is the conquest of nature. The parasite's concern is the conquest of man. The Creator requires independence. He neither serves nor rules. He deals with men by free exchange and voluntary choice. The parasite seeks power. He wants to bind all men together in common action and common slavery. He claims that man is only a tool for the use of others, that he must think as they think, act as they act, and live in selfless, joyless servitude to any need but his own. Look at history. Everything we have, every great achievement has come from the independent work of some independent mind. Every horror and destruction came from attempts to force men into a herd of brainless, soulless robots without personal rights, without personal ambition, without will, hope, or dignity. It is an ancient conflict. It has another name: the individual against the collective. Our country, the noblest country in the history of men, was based on the principle of individualism, the principle of man's inalienable rights. It was a country where a man was free to seek his own happiness, to gain and produce, not to give up and renounce, to prosper, not to starve, to achieve, not to plunder, to hold as his highest possession a sense of his personal value, and as his highest virtue his self-respect. Look at the results. That is what the collectivists are now asking you to destroy, as much of the earth has been destroyed. I am an architect. I know what is to come by the principle on which it is built. We are approaching a world in which I cannot permit myself to live. My ideas are my property. They were taken from me by force, by breach of contract. No appeal was left to me. It was believed that my work belonged to others to do with as they pleased. They had a claim upon me without my consent, that it was my duty to serve them without choice or reward. Now you know why I dynamited Cortland. I designed Cortland. I made it possible. I destroyed it. I agreed to design it for the purpose of seeing it built as I wished. That was the price I set for my work. I was not paid. My building was disfigured at the whim of others who took all the benefits of my work and gave me nothing in return. I came here to say that I do not recognize anyone's right to 1 minute of my life, nor to any part of my energy, nor to any achievement of mine, no matter who makes the claim. It had to be said. The world is perishing from an orgy of self-sacrificing. I came here to be heard in the name of every man of independence still left in the world. I wanted to state my terms. I do not care to work or live on any others. My terms are a man's right to exist for his own sake.
They are the nonsense we talked about last week. They're not interested in the content. They're not interested in the Siddhartha Road. They shouldn't be around. The first person who says that, get out. Get lost. Go back to the world. We don't want. I don't want you. I don't want you around. I don't want you even hearing what I have to say. You're not invited to the party. Fuck the fuck off. You're not interested in the content. This is reserved for people who are interested in the concept, the content. You know, and they're going to make use of the 30 years, knowing full well they haven't got that time. So then they would admire somebody like myself who has made that time in life to bring this forth. We are at the precipice, you know, of society socially. The Mitweld is imploding, and the Eigenweld is in a state of depression, of cataclysmic levels, and they want you to fucking smile. I'm not fucking smiling with this stuff. I'm a very happy person, but see, when it comes to my work, my livelihood, you know, my message, there's very little to smile about. Our movement is riddled with communists and socialists, riddled with it. I'm just going to smile about that. Not to mention all the airheads out there. I see a new generation coming up that's completely feral. How the hell can you do the work I'm doing and be in the garden of weeds? If you people read my, you know, Age of Revealing article, I answer that as well about this deconstructive plutonic work that is involved in excavating, you know, and doing the archaeology to excavate the work of the great minds and to unseat some of the negatives, you know, in the world. And it's a very vast work that needs to take place. But where it's going is further meltdown. My mentors like Blake did predict it can get even worse. And it will get to the point where it will be so bad, you know, if we give over to these teachers, these communitarians, and we buy into their pathology and say we do get the kind of gynocratic Medusan culture that they want. And to get there, they have misinterpreted the Nietzsche's, misinterpreted the Hegel's, the Schelling's, right? They've misinterpreted all the great ones, like Julius Evola. Like you said, they've misconstrued hierarchy. They've misconstrued monarchy, right? Everything's been demonized. They had to do this deconstructive critical theory work, you know, egregiously. And like I have now discovered, you know, that all of the different, I try to bring this up in the mysticism article I did recently, and it will be very much the theme of the idealism series I'm doing, you know, which will be for premium members, right? It will come up again there. And that is that all of the paradigms that opposed idealism and mysticism are bankrupt. Every single one of them. So I don't care if it's phenomenology, materialism, positivism, pragmatism, what you know, all the non-idealistic, non-mystical schools and paradigms just do not live up to expectation. Many of them slowly faded when you weren't meant to be noticing it because they knew it. The high priest knew it. So they sort of shunted it over and it disappeared from sight quietly, actually, because after following it through for many years, they realized, oh my God, we haven't done it. We are, but don't let anybody know that. But see, in rational terms, right? In logical, rational, scholastic terms, if a paradigm, argument, critique of a particular school or teaching fails, right? If the critique fails, doesn't that reconstitute the thing that was under attack? But what our disingenuous media and education has done is, even when the army has, you know, starved themselves to death outside the walls and had to retreat, they don't reestablish the very thing that they were attacking. So idealism and mysticism and other incredibly, you know, brilliant paradigms have remained off the center stage, even though they should be restored. So my work, and I hope the work of a lot of people listening here, they have a job, a duty at hand. You can't get depressed when you have work to do. And so my work is about restoring, making sure that you restore the things that were besieged and under attack. But when the attacks failed, you're meant to know that they failed, right? And you've got to seek out the whistles from within the material side who are more generous to admit this, like the Ian McGilchrists and Michael Gazanigas and other. You don't have to like these people, but they're actually brave enough to come out and say, guys, we failed. It's not neuroscience we have, it's neuromythology. And then you got to study the Bruce Liptons, and you got to, go like we do to the Rupert Sheldrake's, you see, and these other great people to find out, okay, where have we been lied to, and what is the real story then of the cosmos? Hans Alfvén to replace, Einstein or whatever, right? Victor Schauberger, Walter Russell, etc. You go and you find out the alternative. So the work that is desired doesn't need a smile. It doesn't need anything. It doesn't need tears or smile. It's work. It's just you are out there getting your hands dirty, restoring the world, restoring knowledge. Why are you worrying with what clothes I've got on, who I hang around with, what my, if I'm smiling or not smiling? Why are you worrying about that? You know why you're worrying about it? Because you're a fucking arsehole. Pure and fucking simple. You're not interested in anything to do with what we're talking about. You're just some fucking savage, right? Fucking internet surfing asshole, a troll. You don't contribute, you don't purchase anything, you don't support anything, you're garbage. And you are therefore part of the problem that all the people we accuse, you're in that fucking mix. In fact, you're the shithead in the way. We can't even get to the enemy because you fucking double Dutch motherfuckers, backstabbing, smirking assholes are in the fucking way. But see, I've never cared about you since I started this movement. If I did, I would have finished in the first year. You kind of people, right, who can't throw stones, they'll throw dust. Throw all the rocks you fucking want. I've withstood it. I'm 30 years experience. I've gone through you all. I would have crumbled at the first hurdle because, even in your own life, you're thinking, what are you into this shit for? My God, are you kidding? Bringing up, what is it, Anunnaki?
Yeah.
Aliens? I withstood them all. I just watched them, implode, and I just carried on my merry way to the next project, knowing that there's great people out there, goodly people, itching for this. Humble people with no ego, and no vanity, and they want to learn from you, and they buy your book, My first tiny little shopping cart, which I had was pathetic, and yet orders came in, and I went and mailed my own books out, in those days on my own through the post office, got none but dirty looks. But those people, those customers, they believed, and our members today believe, right? And it will continue. We're doing very well, thank you very much, and that's fantastic because it all comes down to knowledge. But there's a duty involved so that you can get up and actually apply some of this knowledge now. There's a lot of practical aspects with what I'm talking about. Because now you can send your kid to a Steiner school or a Montessori or something more along those lines, right? Because you realize the damage is being done. Instead of having some foggy idea what's happening in the liberal movement and why they're turning out all these gender dysphoria kids and now you really classically know what the agenda is from these Ellie Sagans and up. You know what is going on and you know how bad it can get. But now you turn the tide in a small way, right? Even 1 degree you missing the iceberg can be the difference between life and death. But moving the furniture around on the Titanic, like all these other teachers and false pastors are telling you to do, that's not going to work. You've got to actually grab the wheel. And that's what our work is all dedicated for, right? It's truth against the world. It's opening eyes of the world. And I said, learn the motto that these socialists and liberals are the worst advertisement for themselves.
That's right. So
you can just take them fucking down. They are absolutely pathetic. And so from day one, when I send you to Nikki Rapana, and when I send you over to, one of these other great minds, even some of them from the enemy's camp, like say an Erich Fromm, right? Yeah, but they're not the hardcore. They're actually quite humanitarian people that regretted their memberships later on and sort of, steered away. That's what I do beautifully. I can present you to a whole group of scholars, right? From all extremes. I'm probably the only one who can do this because knowledge is knowledge. It doesn't matter where it comes from. The wisdom is there, even in the hands of your enemy. And many times, like the Doctor Who's have shown, always in the hands of your enemy, or a great deal of the time in the hands of the enemy. So the thief who steals from a thief is forgiven for 1,000 years, meaning they stole from us. So if we thieve back the knowledge of the Arya, the knowledge of the wise ones, we're forgiven. And we have to become thieves in the night. We got to be having statues to Mercury, the trickster. That's what we need to do right now, right? We work with that mercurial energy, and all we're doing is taking back what was taken from us and restore it in pride of place. So when you see these horrible street art, and everyone thinks it's great, and when you see this subhuman stuff, right, and you see all this feministic critiques, and you see that the single mother world is being highly funded, everybody can enunciate it, and everybody can see it happening, and they can describe it, David. Who can explain it? in the level that we have done. Not one. I've checked it out. Part of my research is to see what levels other people are on. I'm sorry. Most of them are mainstream or semi-mainstream. And believe me, I love these people. I think what they're doing is really good. But it is also very, very superficial. Until we go much deeper of an analysis into the psychology, right, of what it's all about, we're not going to have the tools, because they'll have the tools. And we got to steal those tools back, and we got to use it. And that's my job. I've done my job. I've built the bridges. I'm doing all the work. Why should I, I don't have to smile to know I'm happy. I'm very contented and happy because I got a vocation. And the vocational man is already imbued with great happiness. He doesn't have to keep fucking smiling at to advertise it to you stupid, sick fucking asshole, right? I don't need to advertise it to you. My happiness is my happiness. It doesn't require waving a flag about it and wearing, the clown face. That's only for fools who are putting on the mask. And those are the people you hang around with and that you love because you're one of them. That's why you have to have everybody smiling around you as a statement of okay. Yeah, because you're either on the one on medication with a big happy fucking smile, and you've grown up in a culture with everybody medicated and happy like an equilibrium. That's why Michael doesn't smile enough. But Michael's happy. Why does he have to fucking smile? Yeah. I'm drenched in happiness, David. I'm a very happy person. And I know you are too.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And I've earned it.